1, 2, 3, 4.
Yeah, yummy.
Are you ready?
Sesame garlic tofu. The first thing you're going to want to do is get your firm tofu from a grocery store or wet market, and then I recommend putting it on a plate and then just taking a couple pieces of paper towel and then placing your tofu on top, placing another couple pieces on top of that, grabbing another plate to cover it, and then something with a little bit of weight but not too heavy that you're gonna like squish it too terribly, and then just put this on top, and what that will do is allow the excess water or liquid to drain out of the tofu. So just let it sit there for about 20 minutes, 15-20 minutes, it should be good enough. While the tofu is draining, what I'm going to do is just going to prepare some edamame to go alongside if you'd like. So I just took about 6 cups of water and I have 1 tablespoon of salt. I'm going to add the salt in there. I'm just going to give it a good stir, and then once it comes to a boil, I'm going to dump in all my edamame. This is just fresh edamame. This has not been cooked or anything. I'm going to cook it on just a low to medium heat for 5 minutes, and then we take it out, and then I'm going to salt it a little bit, and then you can serve it warm or cold. My water's come to a boil, so I'm going to take these fresh edamame. Again, if you don't have fresh ones, you can buy frozen ones from the grocery store, and it's approximately 2 cups of frozen edamame or fresh edamame into the 6 cups of water. So it's boiling. I'm going to just dump that in, and then like I said, I'm going to set a timer for 5 minutes on a medium heat to cook, and I'm just going to keep an eye on it. They want to be nice, soft and tender and easy to release from the pods, and then they should be good to take off and drain. So they've been drained. It's going to take them inside of a bowl. I'm going to take some fresh salt, give them a little bit of a toss. And then if you're going to serve them, you can serve them just fresh like this, or you can pop them out of the casing and then serve them up in a dish. So my tofu has had enough time to drain now, so I'm just going to take off the bowl and the paper towels, and I'm going to slice up my tofu. Into nice cube-sized pieces, and this is a quite large piece of tofu, so I'm going to choose to cut it in half first, like this, and then I'm just going to cut them into nice cube-sized pieces. And then I'm going to place them into a bowl. Once they're inside a bowl, you're going to get a tablespoon, and you're going to scoop out about 2 tablespoons of cornstarch. And then you're just going to toss all of the tofu in the cornstarch. Okay. And then on the side here, I've got a frying pan set out, and I'm going to turn the heat on and I put a tablespoon of sesame oil into the pan. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to place in my tofu, and if you need a little bit more because you think it's not really coating all of them well, you go ahead and add a little bit more if you need to. Try not to break them into pieces, but just keep the whole cubes. And then what you can do is start placing them inside of the oil. Remember, when you are frying them up, you don't want to move them a lot right away. You want to try and get them to really get some brown color on all the sides of your tofu. just gonna start on a low heat until I get all the pieces in. You can see I'm just trying to make sure they're all coated well in some of the cornstarch so they're not too sticky. So now all of the tofu are inside. I'm gonna just turn up to a medium heat, and I wanna just brown all the different sides of the tofu. So let it sit there for a minute or so, and then once you think it's cooked up well, try to turn it and coat and brown all the different sides of the tofu. While we're frying up this tofu, what I'm gonna do is just prepare the sauce next. So the first thing I grabbed is, I measured out a 1/4 cup of low sodium or just soy sauce. And then what I want next is about 2 tablespoons of water. I'm gonna add in some honey, 2 teaspoons. I'm next gonna add in some of this garlic chili sauce. If you don't like chilies, you can just use garlic sauce. And it says about 1.5 teaspoons. So there's a 1/2 teaspoon, so there's half, 1.5 teaspoons. And then I'm gonna add in a 1/2 teaspoon of rice wine vinegar. And then the last thing I'm gonna add in is 2 teaspoons of cornstarch. And then you're gonna wanna mix that all up really well. My tofu is looking pretty good here. It's got some color on all the different sides now. I'm gonna now just start pouring my sauce all over the tofu. And it should thicken up immediately because of the cornstarch inside of there to coat up all of your tofu nicely, like so. Before I go to add in any sesame on top of my tofu, I want to just toast them briefly by just putting them in a dry frying pan, no oil, nothing, and just let them toast up, and it will bring a lot more flavor into the sesame. Meanwhile, what I did is I used to use a rice cooker, and I cooked up a couple cups of rice, and I've just shelled out my edamame, and I decided I'm gonna make, you could just put the rice and put the tofu strictly on that, but I'm gonna jazz up my dish a little bit. I'm gonna add in a little bit of the edamame. I'm gonna put a little bit of salt on top. I'm gonna add in just a little bit, maybe like 1/4 teaspoon of some sesame oil. A little bit of vinegar. You can use apple cider vinegar or some rice wine vinegar. I'm just gonna add in about a 1/4 teaspoon as well. And then the last thing I want to add in is I found some of this Korean style seaweed. I'm just gonna add that in there as well. I can start to smell the sesame already. It's starting to get some brown color on it. It's really, really nice. So I'm gonna go ahead and shut the heat off there. And then I'm just going to mix up my rice. So just grab a spoon, or if it's not too hot, you can use your hands, but I think it's easier with our spoon to mix up our rice here. And it just flavors the rice a little bit more. And we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna plate everything up now. So to plate up my dish, I'm just gonna take my rice, and this, like I said earlier, you can just do plain rice or you can flavor your rice a little bit like I've done here. I'm gonna place that on the base. And then I'm gonna take my tofu. And I'm just gonna sprinkle it with some nice sesame, like so. And here you have a wonderful meal packed full of protein without any meat.